Jerry?
I believe we are ready.
All right. Imagine being immortalized in art. That honor has been afforded to many famous people in history. Some notable examples include, you'll turn on.
Oh, there it is.
President Lincoln. President Lincoln in his memorial, this bust of Queen Elizabeth II, and this memorial of Alex Haley. Today I'm going to tell you a little bit about this memorial, starting about kind of where it came from with information about Alex Haley himself, and we'll move on to how the memorial came to be, and then finally my personal experience with the memorial. So I actually went there in 2007, which is why I am interested, I can't talk today, in this particular topic. And I did my research. Actually, first off, I read the book Roots by Alex Haley himself, and I got it actually up at the Kente Haley Foundation, which I'll talk about later, and I have autographs from everyone over there pretty much, including his brother, Julia Haley, and nephew, Chris Haley. So I also went to the Kente Haley Foundation website, where I got more of my information. So let's trace the ancestry, if you will, of this memorial back to Alex Haley himself. Here's a photograph of him. Unfortunately, he is no longer alive. He passed away in '94 due to heart attack. And as far as the story goes, he traced it, well, when he was younger in the house, he was always hearing stories from his elders about where the family came from, all that kind of stuff. And so when he was older, he decided to trace his family history back as far as he could go. He was able to go as far back to 1750 with the arrival of Kunta Kinte, portrayed here by LeVar Burton, in Annapolis, Maryland. Just to give you an idea of how far back he went, this is his family tree. Right down here is Alex, all the way up there is Kunta. Alex Haley published his findings in the book Roots, and this is actually missing the cover. The cover would have looked like that. And the novel was later on adapted into a TV miniseries, looked like that, starting in 1750 and ending just after the Civil War, and then it was continued by the next generations. That one picked up where the other series left off, and it ended in the 1970s when Alex Haley completed his search. Later on, this one inspired a man by the name of Leonard Blackshear to create a foundation, the Kente Haley Foundation I mentioned earlier, as well as a memorial in Annapolis Harbor commemorating the arrival of Kente. Here's a photo of that commemoration ceremony, and you can see Alex Haley right there. Originally, the memorial was just a plaque, and it basically, like I said earlier, commemorated the arrival. Well, the original plaque was stolen by people claiming to be affiliated by the KKK. This caused an outrage in the city, well, the town, I guess, and they had it replaced a few years later in 1981. Here's that replacement plaque, well, some text off of it. And has anybody ever been to Annapolis, Maryland? No. Well, if you ever go there, you'll probably see the memorial, and actually the harbor, because there's the sculpture group. The harbor, when I went there, I thought it was kind of small. I was expecting almost like a beach. But it was incredibly small. And the reason for that is because the slave ships back in the day were very small. This is the Lord Ligonier, as depicted in Roots. It is the slave ship that would have carried a Kunta from Africa to Maryland. Now, if we zoom in a little bit, just to orient yourself, here we are at the memorial. The memorial is right there, and there's the harbor. And we go even further, there's the harbor, the sculpture group, and also part of the memorial is a story wall and the compass rose. The story wall looks like that. There's about 12 plaques in all, and they each convey a message of peace and reconciliation. Here's one of those plaques dedicated to Leonard Blackshear, who I mentioned earlier, and he actually unfortunately passed away in 2006 from cancer. And then here is the compass rose, and what I like about it is the center part, which you can see here. You can see every single continent. And what I like about it is if you stand in the center, and let's say you're facing Europe, if you're in the center and you're facing Europe, if you were to walk in a straight line that way, you would eventually reach Europe, if you could. And then course, the sculpture group is the main focal point of the memorial. And there were 5 artists that were commissioned for the entire memorial, including the story wall and compass. And I'm only gonna mention one of them, who was Ed Dwight. Now, my personal experience, I went to the Kente Haley Foundation back in '07, right there's the actual building. And it was there that I was able to meet Chris Haley. Here we are, and then there is his godson, Steve. And this is at the Renaissance Fair. And I also got to have my picture taken with him at the memorial. And again, with his father, Julius Haley, who is Alex Haley's brother. So basically, in closing, I hope you guys know a little bit more about this memorial, where it came from, the history behind it. And I want to leave you with a quote by Leonard Blackshear, stating that if you look back and you haven't helped anyone, what was your life about? So as you go home today, I hope you think about that quote, and who knows, maybe someday you'll be immortalized in art, just like Alex Haley.